Hi, I'm Kris from Theme Park to Table, cooking up theme park recipes here in my kitchen. Today, we're going to return to Delish Loves Disney. We're going to EPCOT. We're going to Canada, and I bet you can guess what we're going to make. We're going to make the Cellier Steakhouse Canadian Cheddar Cheese Soup. If you want to join me back here, you can probably hear that I've already got the bacon started. As it sizzles behind me, it makes the whole house smell delicious. So I've got the bacon. It's at a light crisp. If you want to see how I did this, we'll link a video down below from a little extra pixie dust where I show how I chop up the bacon and start the browning process. So we've got our bacon ready to go. To the bacon, we're going to add our red onion, celery, and butter. Let me start getting this moving around a little bit. I'm going to increase my heat just a smidge. Now, you probably noticed for this recipe that I did not actually drain the bacon. It did not call for it. It just said to chop the bacon and to lightly crisp it when you cook it. So it did not say to drain fat, remove bacon, or anything else. So all the fat staying right in there, and you're adding more fat to it with the butter. So we're just going to give this a little stir. We just want this butter to melt up nice. We want the celery and the onion to start cooking and get a little bit translucent. We will put a link down below for how we did the bacon. And this is a fairly straightforward recipe. When I read this, I was kind of surprised. I don't know if you've been there before and had the cheddar cheese soup. I think most people have. I think it's kind of iconic. But the soup is delicious, and I really expected a lot more complicated of a recipe when I saw what it was, but it's really pretty straightforward. I feel that this is a recipe that you could make in your house for a dinner during a typical weeknight. It's not going to take too much time. Nothing in here super hard to get, which is good because right now ingredients can be kind of hard to track down in some cases. So we're just going to get this moving. I'm excited to be back to the Delish Loves Disney book after the holidays and continue cooking our way through it. There are some pretty exciting recipes in this book coming up that I'm really looking forward to, and a couple that I'm kind of scared of, honestly. We've got a couple coming up in a few weeks that I'm not going to give any spoilers of what it is, but honestly, I'm a little terrified. So when we get to that one, I'll let you know, and we'll see how it comes out. And the ironic part is I think it's the one that my husband is the most excited to try. So here's hoping that it comes out okay. Okay, so we've got our celery and onions cooked. They're getting translucent. Everything is blended together. So to this, I'm going to up my heat just a little bit because we're going to add flour in just a second, and we want to cook that flour. So we're going to take our flour, and we're just going to kind of sprinkle it over the top. And then you want to mix it into all that butter and fat from the bacon. And you want to make sure that flour cooks. Raw flour can actually carry salmonella. So you want to make sure that your flour is cooked before you move to the next step. So I'm just going to kind of cook that. Doesn't take very long, about a minute. We'll heat it up. It kind of makes everything pasty, which is what it's going to do when we add the broth to this, is it's going to actually thicken the soup. So, a little stir. Get what we can off the spoon. Get the edges kind of scraped down a little bit. Okay. That's looking good. Now we're going to actually use this bowl. I'm going to set this off to the side for a second because we're actually going to want our whisk when we start putting the broth in because we don't want this to clump. So if you look at it right now, you can kind of see that the butter and the flour, wow, are all bubbly. That's what you're looking for. So I'm going to grab my chicken broth very carefully, and we're just going to kind of add it in slowly. And as we add, we're going to whisk. I'm going to keep this kind of centered over the bowl a little bit because it's kind of leaking down the sides. If I'd had something big enough to use that actually had a spout on it, probably would have worked better, but that's okay. We're going to make do with what we have right now. keep going, you'll see that this is thickening up quite substantially. Let me get the rest of this in there. Move the bowl out of the way so you can see a little better. And then as you're whisking, you want to make sure that you're whisking down the sides. You don't want anything getting stuck in the corners. And just keep that flour, onion, bacon, celery mixture moving around. You'll also notice you probably will get some pieces stuck inside your whisk. Don't worry about that. You can bang them out after. Okay, so I'm just going to get this going. What we're looking for is for this to all be smooth. And we want this to come up to a simmer. So we're just going to keep it moving until it's all smooth. Won't take very long. Okay, so we're actually pretty close right now. Oh, and I just splattered myself. What would the recipe with Kris be without a little splatter? I probably should put up one of those signs like they have at water, like at Shamoons, that says splash zone around me when I cook. Okay, so this is going to come up to a simmer. This is going to simmer for about 15 minutes. And then we're going to add some milk, but I will meet you back here in 15 minutes when this is ready to go. So I'll see you in a few. Welcome back. It's been 15 minutes. The base of our soup has gotten nice and thick. And now we're going to add in the milk. Grab our milk. And we're just going to stir as we add this all in there. Get it nicely incorporated. Keep it all moving around. While it was simmering, I did stay here and I did stir it pretty often because it is nice and thick and I did not want it to stick or burn to the bottom. So if you do decide to make this recipe, I would say plan to stand next to your stove and pretty much consistently stir through the first 15 minutes at least. Okay, all of our milk is in there. Let's get everything incorporated in. Now the milk's in there, we want to be very careful that we don't go above a simmer. We don't want to boil because we don't want to scald our milk. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this and make sure that it stays at a simmer. So I'm going to watch this. I'm going to let this simmer for 15 minutes and I'll see you back here to put the finishing touches on the soup and get it plated up. And welcome back. It's been 15 minutes. Once again, I stayed kind of close and I've given it pretty constant stirs as it's going. So now the next part of the recipe actually says we're going to pull this off and then add the cheese and the other ingredients to it. If I was doing this myself, I think I'd add the cheese while it was still on the heat and not pull it off to add the cheese. But as always, we're going to follow the recipe the first time. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to turn off. We're going to move this over here. I am going to give it just one more stir to make sure I don't have any surprises stuck to the bottom before I start adding stuff in. Now we're going to add in cheddar cheese. You're going to notice that I'm using white cheddar cheese, and traditionally this soup is yellow or orange kind of color. I try to avoid food coloring wherever possible in my house. We have some sensitivities to it, so I'm using white cheddar. It's going to taste the same. It's just going to look a little different. So you use whatever cheddar you have, whatever cheddar you like. I'm going to add in Worcestershire sauce, hot sauce, salt and pepper. And this can always be adjusted at the end. We can always add more. I always tend to go light the first time through because you can't take it out, but you can always put more in. Then we're going to grab the immersion blender and we're going to blend this. So we're just going to start off on low. I'm just going to try to work that cheese into the hot milk mixture. I'm going to take this part out of the way. It says to blend until cheese is melted. So just going to try to work it in. Probably should use a slightly bigger pan. I misjudged that. Would make this process a little easier, but that's okay. Live and learn. So this part has to get all blended in. I'm hoping that my immersion blender is strong enough to break up some of the bacon and stuff. I'm not sure if it's going to be. It's going to be quite as smooth. So typically with the immersion, I just kind of go up and down like this. And it will kind of grab the big chunks and do its thing. I'm seeing lots of little bits of bacon now, which is good. Still seeing some green onion in there. Like I said, I'm not sure my immersion blender is going to be strong enough to fully get this smooth. Getting lots of the bacon and stuff actually stuck in it, so we're going to try to bang that out. Grab a spoon. So what I would say is if you have a food processor or something, maybe let it cool a little bit and transfer to that, and then finish it up. Reheat it, and then add in the last stuff, which we're going to do in a second. But I'm going to just give this about 10 more seconds, and then we're just going to call it. Okay. I think that's the best that you can do. So let's get off our bacon. Now, the next part, the last step, besides dishing this up, is we're actually going to add in some Pilsner to it. We're going to add some beer. I'm just going to pour this in, and then we're going to give this a mix, just to give it a stir. And it does say to add it after the immersion blending, so we're going to stir this into the beer is incorporated. There we go, looking kind of nice. And now I'm going to transfer this over to the table so we can get this plated up. Okay. Very carefully. That's a big pot of very hot liquid. Okay, just give that a stir. Okay, so I'm just going to grab my ladle and my bowl. And we're going to get a nice, delicious bowl of hot, steaming cheddar cheese soup, which I have to tell you smells amazing. If you've never had the cheddar cheese soup, I would definitely say you should try this recipe because it is one of my favorite things in EPCOT to eat. Okay. I'm going to grab some bacon bits to garnish, and some more green onion. And there you have it. The Cellier's Cheddar Cheese Soup. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.